In the game Titanfall, you control a robot that is dropped from the sky. So what if a Titan fell? The average human today would be about 195 pounds and around 5 foot 9 inches. From some promotional art, we get a good idea of how tall a Titan is with respect to the pilot. Also in the corner, you can see some dimensions for the Atlas class Titan. So it looks to be about 25 tons and 23 meters tall. 23 meters is a little more than 75 feet. A way more realistic height would be about 2.5 times that of a pilot, leaving the Titan to be about 14.5 feet tall. To put it into perspective, if a Titan decided to punch you, its massive 7,500 kilogram arm would be traveling nearly 40 meters per second, and that energy would be transferred straight into your face. This energy exchange would be like being punched by Mike Tyson 7,500 times. Now we don't know the tech of this world, but what we do know are the laws of physics. The time it takes a Titan to land after being called in is about 5.09 seconds. Although this is on an exoplanet, let's use Earth's gravity as a reference. With that said, the Titan would be falling from about 130 meters with a velocity of 50 meters per second at impact. Being of similar mass to about 12 cars and dealing with a hard landing on a concrete, the force exerted on a Titan would be transferred through the frame. Distortion would absorb energy along with the deformation of the ground beneath it. The shock wave would shatter windows and set off car alarms. The joints in the legs would be torn apart and any computer brain would be pulverized. With a softer landing onto another Titan, things change a little bit. The energy and forces would be transferred into Titan B and then into the softer Earth. Insane amounts of deformation would occur, leaving Titan B's cockpit first caved in and then the legs giving out. Depending on the geography, it would be buried up to a meter into the ground. The equal and opposite reaction would be propagated into Titan A as well. With the Earth absorbing a lot of the energy and the deformation of Titan B, Titan A could partially survive. Let's look at the hypothetical situation where the shield absorbs all of the force, and in this hypothetical situation, the Titan lands on you. So you have a Titan traveling 110 miles per hour, and your body is in charge of braking its fall. Your head would go from 0 to 50 meters per second in 35 milliseconds. The 1,429 Gs you would be experiencing would cause your eyes to eject from your head and your limbs pulled from your body as they're trying to catch up with your new situation. But this isn't the worst part. Because you are acting as a cushion for the falling robot, you're the only thing between it and the 10-meter crater it would create. At the bottom would be a puddle of you. Because of the energy the supercomputer on board would require for stable bipedal movement and the power for the sensors and motors, the Titan would likely have a mini reactor on board. NASA utilized nuclear batteries to power their probes traveling in deep space. They use the heat from the decaying plutonium to generate electricity. The Titan would basically never have to refuel, and it would be smaller than the turbine engine found in the Abrams. With twice the horsepower of an Abrams tank, you would only need a reactor about 15% the size of the one in the USS Virginia, which would use less than a kilogram of fuel. But this fuel has enough energy to completely level 20 blocks, if released at once. If the reactor was like the ones found in power plants, it would be able to withstand the direct impact from an aircraft. Unfortunately, if the fall doesn't cause the core to collapse, in the game, you could self-detonate. Nuclear reactors undergo meltdown when the working fluid for the cooling cannot draw enough energy away from the fuel rods. The rods holding the fuel begin to melt and the radioactive material is open to the air. There would be leaking radioactive coolant and a small amount of uranium blown into nearby buildings and people, then oozing from the rubble. So next time you call in for Titanfall, be sure to know what you're getting yourself into.
AI offline. Pilot mode engaged.
Hey man, check your HUD. Close to Hardpoint Bravo.
Warning. Threat level high. Warning. Titans engaging. Caution. You are outnumbered.
time and the enemy is slightly ahead.